It will only become an FMCT if Pakistan casts an affirmative vote in its favor in CD or abstains. If it casts a negative vote, it will not become an FMCT.
Signing on the 9/11 without ever even holding a cabinet meeting. This is the reality of things.
I would respectfully and honorably disagree with Dr. Kabir Rahman. And my position is very clear that on the very basis which I have mentioned in my roster, Pakistan will not be able to long stop the passage of the FMT. If we stop it in CD, it will be taken to the UN General Assembly and it will be passed. Like it happened in the case of CD. It has came into CDBT. They will take it. They have said it.
What happened to the limit?
Because they are still convincing you to let it negotiate.
Oh, no, sorry.
They will.
No. There is a very important fact. There is a very important fact which is being forgotten. The American position has changed. The American position is not to rush it to New York, but to encourage what they call informal discussions to arrive at a consensus, and then to see. Let's at least keep ourselves correctly informed about what's happening in New York.
We are very correctly informed, and I may add to you that the last statement in the CD was not in January 30 as you have mentioned. It is in March Zamir Akram has spoken. It is in last month, March, Zamir Akram has spoken in response to German ambassador's objection to Pakistan's policy.
Okay,
And very rightly pointed out by student Ms. Sana that Zamir Akram has stated there are other three important issues which has also been discussed along with the FMC.
I just want to announce that Dr. Kabir is not walking out. He's just going to see his doctor. Because of your remarks, his blood pressure is raised. That's what I was saying.
It's not blood pressure, it's a service.
Thank you, Shaisa.
This shows democracy in Pakistan at all levels. Intellectually, in other words. Please.
Thank you. Before the visa leaves, I think the record is that the Americans did raise this, take it to the General Assembly informally, and the vote count that they had was not sufficient to get a transfer of the FMCT negotiations from the CD to the UN General Assembly. I'm sorry I'm late, so I'll just make some comments because I was actually in a round table at the Institute of Regional Studies from where I stepped out. The FMCT has several aspects. There's the geostrategic aspect whereby it will cause enormous strategic instability in our region. But then there are with us certain principles that we can insist on, and that is of course to address all the four issues at the CD, and not just the negotiations on the FMCD, negative security assurances, disarmament, and outer space. So we have to talk about all these negotiations go on concurrently, and that has not been done so far, and they have just waffled about it. So we have to insist on that. And then on the subject of FMCT, Pakistan has been talking about the fissile material treaty. What we object to is the FMCT, not the cut-off treaty, but the fissile material treaty, because there we can come to some arrangements as to how the fissile material all over the world is to be handled and managed. Now, so having made those positions clear, I think we have stated our case as convincingly as possible. What we have not been able to do is to manage the negative image of Pakistan, or the negative impression that has been given. So that needs to be managed. And I have been saying for a long time that we should send special envoys to those countries which have reservations about the FMCT negotiations. We have merely talked to them in Geneva, and that is not effective enough. I have also said that we have to sort of launched a lot of articles and papers on our position. That is where we lose out. I have seen this in our missions abroad. We lose the argument because we are not as prolific in projecting our position. So, just some comments. Thank you.
I think that is something I also spoke at during my presentation. There's an interesting thing that I'm going to quote here. After being stalled for something like 30 years, there was a nuclear plant that started in India, and there was a lot of indigenous protest against it because Japan had just happened, and the people there were protesting. And then on this protest, a lot of Europeans came on board, and they said that India came out and said that Europe is actually working against Indian interest, and none other than Manmohan Singh himself wrote an article in an international scientific journal to protect India's point of view. So all I'm trying to say here is that Pakistan has enough hard power. If you go by the WikiLeaks, when you do further, maybe we should for Pakistan also. Pakistan has the fastest growing nuclear arsenal in the world, only second to the P5. That's what Anna Peterson memo said to DC. It's probably why Pakistan has lost out on, Pakistan, and I keep re-emphasizing it, is the intellectual front and the diplomatic front. All the presentations that are made on Pakistan in Pentagon and in the White House are made by Chinese, Sri Lankans, or Pakistanis who have not come to Pakistan for the last 10 years.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, please.
Sir, thank you for giving me second opportunity, but I think there are things
Special plans, civilian special.
strategic vision, sir. Yeah, thank you very much. It's so nice, sir. And with all due respect, sir, Dr. Jiva, you have taught us to module projects in our class, and we owe it to you. I would tend to disagree. You feel that FMCT might go to UN General Assembly and then Pakistan might be forced to sign on the dotted lines. If it was the case, they would have taken in 2010 and 11 this issue to the UN General Assembly. But if they take FMCT to the UN General Assembly, the other three core issues of the city, that are those who also become vulnerable to be debated at the UN General Assembly. Like our sensitivities to FMCT, the Western world is very sensitive to the issues of negative security assurances and prevention of arms race in outer space. The NAM, which is the largest group in the city, they want to discuss the issue of negative security assurances. The US and other Western powers, they do not want to. So if FMCT goes to UN General Assembly, the other three should also go because it sets a precedence. So Pakistan has no problem. So Pakistan is not isolated at the General Assembly, even if this issue goes there. Sir, with your permission, I'd just like to briefly point out another factor on the issue. In two of the presentation, the economic imperatives of nuclear program, they were also highlighted. And that's also a perception that needs to be clarified. We keep talking that maybe Pakistan is fastest growing nuclear program, maybe we are investing too much in nuclear program. That's the kind of perception which is appearing in the media. In reality, one statistics again, not emotional, they're not just representing from the SPD. If you see the money spent on conventional forces and the damages out of the previous wars, previous to last tax, once Pakistan was not a nuclear weapon state, the cost was much more than what cost that you have spent after you have become nuclearized, because you have prevented major wars between India and you have provided kind of a breather to spend more on your economy or social sector by reducing the defense expenses.
Actually, my presentation actually said that our conventional weapons spendings have gone down. All I'm saying is that our story is not being taken. That's all I keep saying.
Absolutely.
I think the point which you have raised, nobody disagrees with that. And I can